Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take a fascinating subject and extract the essential insights for you.
Hey there.
Today, we're stepping away from the usual roar of the crowd.
Yeah, we're focusing on the whistle instead. We're looking at football, but from a different angle.
Right. Not tactics, not players exactly, but the person in charge on the pitch.
Indeed. We're diving into the career, the whole mindset, really, of probably the most, well, iconic football referee ever, Pierluigi Collina.
And we've got this great audio interview with him as our main source today, really packed with insights.
Absolutely. Now, let's just say it up front. The first thing anyone thinks of with Collina is, well, how he looked.
Oh, definitely. You can't miss it. That bald head, the really piercing eyes. It was alopecia, wasn't it? Lost all his hair. Made for a very striking figure out there.
A powerful presence, for sure. But what comes through so clearly in the interview and what people quickly realized was how his skill, his authority, just totally eclipsed that initial impression.
Yeah, you kind of stopped noticing the look after a while.
Exactly.
And the fact that he was voted the world's best referee 4 years running, well, that says a lot, right?
It really does. Getting that kind of consistent respect from inside the game, it's pretty rare.
Especially for referees, they usually hear more complaints than get awards.
Precisely.
Yeah.
So that sustained level of excellence, it really makes him stand out. So our mission today is basically to figure out what made him tick.
Yeah, what were those key qualities that made him so respected in such a, let's face it, incredibly tough job?
And what can we maybe learn from how he handled a role where every single call is scrutinized, endlessly debated?
Okay, so let's start at the beginning then. His journey to the top, it wasn't exactly straightforward, was it?
No, not at all. Grew up in Bologna. And interestingly, he actually played football himself
Oh, did he? Until when?
till he was about 17.
Ah, okay. That's key, I think. Having that player's perspective firsthand. How do you think that might have helped him later as a ref?
Well, you've got to imagine understanding the game's flow, how players think, how they react.
Yeah.
That must be invaluable.
Yeah, that feel for the game.
Right. Probably really informed his decision-making down the line.
Makes sense. And getting into refereeing itself, that wasn't like a grand plan either.
Apparently not. Just a friend suggested he try a referee's course.
Wow. Just like that.
Just a casual suggestion.
Mhm.
But it turned out to be, a major turning point.
Funny how life works sometimes, those small moments. But then it was a long road from there.
Oh, yeah. 14 years. He spent 14 years refereeing in the lower leagues before he even got to Serie A, the top Italian league.
14 years grinding it out. That shows incredible, well, perseverance. Just honing his craft away from the big spotlight.
Definitely. And what's maybe even more amazing is that for a lot of that time, refereeing wasn't even his main job.
Right. He had another career entirely.
He did. He got an economics degree, worked as a financial consultant for a bank.
While refereeing top Italian games.
Yeah, back then, Serie A refs weren't full-time pros, so he was doing both.
That's just an incredible balancing act, the level of commitment, the work ethic.
Unbelievable. And even after he made it to Serie A in '91, he kept the finance job going for a bit longer.
Still juggling both.
It really makes you wonder how he managed it all. Speaks volumes about his focus, his discipline.
Absolutely. And you have to ask, right, did that finance background, did it influence how he refereed? Did those skills transfer?
It seems highly likely. I mean, finance requires sharp analysis, making quick calls under pressure, understanding high stakes.
All things a top referee needs, especially for those big calls, like a last-minute penalty shout.
Exactly. Analyzing complex stuff, making immediate big decisions. There's a definite parallel there. Handling pressure in finance probably steeled him for the football cauldron.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about the human side of refereeing. In the interview, Collina sounds a little weary about the constant criticism, the focus on mistakes.
Yeah, you definitely pick up on that. This expectation that referees should be perfect, infallible.
Unlike players, right?
Exactly. Which is just unrealistic. Everyone's human.
And he brings up that great quote from Giovanni Trapattoni, the coach.
Oh, yeah. What was that again?
Trapattoni said something like, if players couldn't make mistakes, the game just wouldn't be the same.
Ah, right. Such a good point. It acknowledges the human part of sport.
And Collina basically says, well, same goes for refs. They're human. They're under huge pressure. Mistakes are going to happen sometimes. He sort of asks for a bit more understanding, maybe empathy.
Which ties in nicely with his whole philosophy on starting matches.
Yeah.
That idea of trust.
Yeah, tell us about that.
He really emphasized that he wanted to begin every game by, well, trusting the players, assuming they'd be honest.
Okay, now that in the cutthroat world of pro football, that might sound a bit surprising, maybe even naive to some.
Perhaps.
So, what does that tell you, our listener, about his approach, his style of managing these high-intensity situations?
It suggests wanting to build things on respect, on professionalism, right from the kickoff. Maybe his sheer presence helped enforce that too.
Good point. But then, of course, the obvious question is,
What happened when players crossed the line? When that trust was broken?
exactly. How did he handle that? Okay, let's park that for a second, talk technology. Cameras in football. Always a big topic.
Always. And Collina, interestingly, wasn't immediately convinced that just having more cameras automatically meant better refereeing. At least not at first.
Oh, really? Why not? You'd think more angles equals more clarity, right?
His argument was a bit more subtle. He suggested that all those extra camera angles for the TV audience could actually create an illusion of more ref errors.
An illusion. How does that work? Seems backwards.
Well, think about it. Viewers get replays, slow-mo,
Yes.
angles from everywhere. Information the ref just doesn't have in real time, from their one viewpoint on the pitch.
Ah, okay, I get it now. So a tackle might look like a definite foul in super slow-mo from behind the goal.
Right.
But from where the ref was standing, in that split second, it could have looked totally different. Maybe even like a fair challenge based on what they saw.
Precisely. It just highlights that massive difference between making a call live in the heat of the moment and analyzing it later with all the tech. It's a really smart take on the whole tech debate.
Very insightful. Now, let's move to something where his view was crystal clear. No nuance needed.
Diving. Simulation.
Yep. No gray areas for Collina there.
None whatsoever. He was famously, very publicly, dead against it.
Uncompromising is the word, and he had that really memorable way of describing it. Very strong language.
He did not hold back. He called it a crime against fellow workers.
Wow. Fellow workers, meaning the other players. That's a powerful framing.
It really is, isn't it? His logic was basically, players are colleagues, professionals in the same job. Diving is trying to cheat those colleagues, trying to trick the ref for an unfair gain.
A total breach of professional conduct in his eyes.
Exactly. Especially, as the interview brings up, when you think about the potential consequences. A dive winning a penalty in a huge relegation match.
That could literally destroy a club, affect people's jobs, their futures.
Absolutely. So his message to players was blunt. Think twice, think very carefully before you try to con the referee.
It's a really strong ethical position, all about fairness and respect within the profession. So here's something for you to think about, listener. Calling diving a crime against fellow players, do you think that's fair? Is it justified, given what's often at stake?
It definitely makes you look at it differently. Okay, so with all this pressure, all the scrutiny, did he actually ever, enjoy refereeing?
He did. He specifically mentioned one game he truly enjoyed being part of.
Oh, yeah. Which one?
The 1999 Champions League final. Bayern Munich versus Manchester United.
Oh, that final. An absolute classic. Legendary drama.
Totally unforgettable. And he said he really relished being the ref for that one, even though refs usually need to stay detached.
So what was it? Did he feel he'd had a perfect game himself?
Interestingly, no, it wasn't about his performance. He said it was just the sheer emotion, the unbelievable drama of it all, especially Man United's crazy late comeback. He called it one of football's greatest moments.
Wow. So even the ice-cool Collina got caught up in the magic of the game sometimes.
Yeah, it really shows his underlying love for football, doesn't it?
It humanizes him, definitely.
Yeah.
Goes beyond just the stern authority figure.
There's that brilliant little story linked to that final, too.
Ah, yes. He mentions that the person interviewing him had completely forgotten he was the referee for that massive game.
Seriously, for the 99 final, they forgot Collina was the ref.
Yep. And Collina apparently said that was the best compliment he could receive.
Really? How come?
Because his whole philosophy was, the best refereeing is when you don't even notice the referee, when they just blend into the game.
To be basically invisible during one of the most famous matches ever played, that's quite the paradox, isn't it?
It really is. You're the main authority, but the goal is to disappear. Okay, let's do a quick recap, and then we've got a few questions for you, our listener, based on what we've discussed about Pierluigi Collina.
All right. Question 1. Before becoming a full-time ref, Collina had another job. What was that other profession? Just take a second to think back.
Okay, question 2. What was Collina's main worry about having more and more TV cameras at games? What was his concern there? Pause and think on that one.
And the last main question. Which particular Champions League final did Collina say he really enjoyed refereeing? And what was the key reason he gave for that enjoyment? Try and recall that.
Right. Now, just 2 quick yes or no ones for you.
First up, Did Collina think referees were basically superhuman and should never ever make mistakes in a match? Yes or no?
And finally, did Collina approve of players deliberately diving or faking fouls to try and win things like penalties or free kicks? Yes or no?
Okay.
So as we start to wrap up our deep dive on the remarkable career of Pierluigi Collina, let's just quickly run through the main things we've touched on.
We looked at his, well, slightly unusual start in refereeing, the incredible dedication it took to get to the very top, and how he managed that amazing feat of juggling top-level officiating with a serious finance career for so long.
Yeah, and we talked about his views on refereeing mistakes, acknowledging they happen, the
Yeah.
human side of it, and his approach of starting games by trusting the players.
We also got into his quite nuanced take on technology, on cameras, and how they affect how refereeing is perceived.
And of course, that really strong, unwavering stance against diving, calling it that crime against fellow professionals.
It's pretty clear his success wasn't just one thing. It was this mix of incredible skill, that undeniable presence he had, and just a really deep understanding of football itself.
Absolutely. Which meant, in the end, his unique look became almost secondary. He just radiated authority.
He really did. So here's our final thought for you to maybe chew on. When you consider everything involved, the massive pressure, the constant scrutiny, having to make huge decisions instantly, technology changing things, the human element, all of it. What do you think are the absolute must-have qualities, the essential skills for a referee, not just to make it at the top level, but to earn that kind of universal respect that Collina had? Something to really ponder.